You know, I have to tell you, this guy, he definitely is probably a sleazeball. He probably did all the things he's accused of doing. I'm sure there's a lot of evidence out there, but the thing that cracks me up is this guy's got some serious cojones. I mean, let's be honest about it. He can look straight in the camera. I mean, this guy's a real politician. He can look straight in the camera and act like he's the victim. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. Hello, all my free-minded friends out there. We are back at it again, and I appreciate you joining me. J.R. Dukes here. Got another great video for you. We are going to talk about the case of Congressman George Santos. He has just given a speech live, and I think it's important that we talk about it. So here we go.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming out. As you all know, the vote that was supposed to happen today was moved to tomorrow, but in lieu of...
Folks, just as a quick recap for you, Congressman George Santos is from New York. He has been charged by the United States Attorney's Office. Reading from their website, Congressman George Santos is charged with conspiracy, wire fraud, false statements, falsification of records, aggravated identity theft, and credit card fraud. He has already survived 2 votes to have him expelled from Congress, but we have to remember he has not been convicted of any crime as of the recording of this video. Again, he has not been convicted of any crime. He has not had his due process rights. He has not had a trial by jury. I want you to remember that as we listen to what he has to say.
Of keeping a schedule, I decided to stay with today's 8 a.m. Commitment to all of you and to the American people. Here's where we are. We are due to go for round 3 of expulsion of Congressman George Santos from NY3. I think we can all look back and say this is not how at least I thought this year would go. I don't think this is how most of people in the media would think this year would go. And it's just an unfortunate circumstance that I have to sit here and watch the American people waste, Congress waste the American people's time over and over again on something that is the power of the...
You know, I have to tell you, this guy, he definitely is probably a sleazeball. He probably did all the things he's accused of doing. I'm sure there's a lot of evidence out there, but the thing that cracks me up is this guy's got some serious cojones. I mean, let's be honest about it. He can look straight in the camera. I mean, this guy's a real politician. He can look straight in the camera and act like he's the victim. You gotta love it. You gotta love it.
People, not the power of Congress, which is to remove and elect and remove members of Congress. Obviously, some want to cling to some circumstances and to allegations, but there's been a long-standing precedent in the House that every single member that's ever been expelled, and they are trying to join me to the group of 3 Confederates and 2 people convicted in a court of law.
That's important to remember. There's only been 5 individuals that's ever been expelled from Congress, aka the House of Representatives. And he's got a valid point. 2 of them actually had a conviction for some kind of crime before they were expelled, and then 3 of the individuals were expelled for treason. They were Confederate individuals. So he's got a valid point. He has not been convicted of a crime, and this is something I've been pointing out continuously.
So if I am to get expelled tomorrow, I will be number 6 in the history, the first Republican and the only one without a conviction or without being part of a or without having committed treason. So that's kind of where we stand today on that sense. But let me go down a few things here that to give you a sense of Congress today and what it represents for the American people. It represents chaos. Chaos because we have a House that doesn't work for the people. We have a House where we have members with severe allegations against them having the gall and the courage to call the Speaker a joke. I read that today in Political. It was on the cover of Political where, you know, we're reading about members of Congress trying to smear one of the most honorable members of our conference in the Republican Party. So that's just where we've...
George, I love it. I love it. Go ahead and kiss butt of Mike Johnson, the Speaker. I love the way he is using a little bit of finesse right here. He's like, hey, this article came out against our speaker calling him a joke, but guess what? This guy's got integrity. He's a great man. We love him. That's perfect. That's perfect. Go ahead. I mean, this guy, this is one of the laws of power, is that you make sure you kiss the rear end of the people that are basically your superior. And in this case, AKA Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House. I like this Santos all of a sudden.
Stoop down to people with rap sheets who think and feel emboldened enough to go call out other people for their policy. Secondly, it's amazing to me that this House continues to want to push me out. Meanwhile, we have Secretary Mayorkas, who's committed absolute dereliction of his duty, has put all Americans in danger. If you saw last night,
okay, so if you don't know who Secretary Mayorkas is, this is the bozo that is in the Biden administration that's in charge of the border. I can't really put that in a logical sentence. He's in charge of the border. He is supposed to be the individual that's in charge of making sure our borders are secure. This individual should have been impeached by Congress a long time ago for dereliction of duties. Of course, the Biden administration wants open borders, as we've discussed in many previous videos. However, he's making the point that all these other people are guilty of outright not doing their job, and yet they have not even been touched.
The Rockefeller Center Christmas tree lighting, which is something that for years has been one of the most beautiful celebrations in New York City, most peaceful, crowded, yes, but yesterday we had a band of vandals who thought it was appropriate to fight the NYPD. This is what took place just yesterday. And that's on Secretary Mayorkas, because a lot of these people, they're not here because they love this country. They're not here because they want the best for this country. Why are they here? It's starting from inside. And that's what you get when you have open borders and an administration that is oblivious to the real issue that's taking place. And then lastly, let's talk about consistency. We have a member of Congress that earlier this year took a plea deal to obstructing a congressional hearing. That's not the plea deal he took, right? I'm kidding. He took a plea deal for pulling a fire alarm which obstructed and delayed an official hearing and proceeding on the House floor. Now, had that been any other person, had it been one of the members of the media, had it been a Republican member of Congress, we all know that that person would have been charged with obstructing a congressional hearing, just like the somewhat 140 people sitting in prison right now because of January 6th. But Jamal Bowman gets a pass. That's why today at noon, I'm going to be introducing a privilege motion for expulsion of convicted and guilty pleaded Congressman Jamal Bowman. And I stand there. I think that that's consistency. Let's hold our own accountable, but let's make sure that we do it with the precedent of the House. Now, if the House wants to start different precedent and expel me, that is going to be the undoing of a lot of members of this body, because this will haunt them in the future, where mere allegations are sufficient to have members removed from office when duly elected by their people in their respective states and districts. So bearing that in mind, I'm going to make this a very brief and a comment on the process here.
He has an excellent point that if they lower the bar so low to where you can be accused of a particular crime, and remember, we're not talking treason, we're not talking serious crimes as far as going against the United States. We're talking about falsification of records. If you set the bar this low and you can just go ahead and kick out any member you want, it's a Pandora's box, and you better think very carefully before you open it.
It's taken place with the Ethics Committee. By admission of the chairman himself, he said that the process was not full throttle and not complete because it would require many more months in order for the committee to offer any kind of punishment. So instead, they decided to stop short of completing the process, going ahead and putting out a slanderous report, unprecedented. Nobody here's ever seen ethics reports of any other members who's been under investigation. But yet again, changing precedent for me, it seems that it's all fair game. So there we go. They go ahead and release this report littered in hyperbole, littered in opinion that would have no decent cop would bring this to a prosecutor or a DA and say, here's our report, go ahead and charge him. Right? So this is what the ethics committee put out. God bless them and what they think they're doing and what their work is. You know, I believe they do good work when it's relevant, but this...
That's good, George. I love that. He's not going to slam the committee that put out that scathing report. He doesn't want to offend the very people that's going to be voting to either throw him out or keep him.
This ain't it. So with that, I'm going to make this a very brief opportunity for a couple of questions in an orderly fashion.
All right, there you go. That was Congressman George Santos from New York giving himself a vigorous defense. He knows this vote coming up is very serious, and there are some people that are changing their votes from the last 2 rounds that they went through this. Listen, I don't think that this is a good idea. The Republicans only have a 4-seat majority right now. If you get rid of Santos, you only have a 3-vote majority, and that is slimmer than slim. It's slimmer than what it has been, obviously. And if you notice, the Republicans have had a very difficult time governing with only a 4-vote majority. So obviously, anytime you lose another Republican when the tallies are this close, this is a serious situation. He also made some excellent points that I just want to recap. U.S. Senator Robert Menendez, actually his wife and 3 other businessmen, are currently charged by the United States Attorney's Office. I'm reading this directly from their site. They are charged with bribery offenses. So you have a sitting senator from New Jersey that is under federal indictment for very serious crimes involving a foreign government, yet he is still in the Senate. You have an individual, Democrat Representative Jamal Bowman of New York. This is the bozo that decided he was going to go ahead and interrupt a proceeding because he didn't like the way the vote was going. He went ahead and pulled the fire alarm to disrupt the government organization, the Congress that was meeting at that time. He claimed that he was trying to find his way out. I mean, come on, trying to find your way out the door. You know it's a lie. I know it's a lie. And what happened to him? He got a slap on the wrist and was simply allowed to pay a fine, and that was all there was to that. When it comes to the January 6 individuals that were accused of basically doing the same thing, obstructing the government, which is a load. There's 140 people currently serving time in jail from that nonsense on January 6th. And yet this Representative Bowman was allowed to plead guilty to a misdemeanor and pay a fine. So tell me what you think about that. Am I misreading this? Is this right? Is this wrong? Do you think Santos should stay or should he go? I personally hope the Republicans will come to their senses and keep him, because you know the Democrats are going to vote in a solid block to throw him out, hoping they can keep chipping away at the remaining 3 Republicans so they can take power inside the House of Representatives. I seriously hope it doesn't come to that, but we'll see. At any rate, I appreciate you joining me today. Please make sure you like, share, subscribe this channel. Share it with your friends. That way the algorithm will pick this up and we can spread this message so people can understand what's going on in their daily lives, especially when it comes to the upcoming election for president in 2024. We have to get Donald Trump back in office. So I appreciate it again. Always, my friends, remember to keep that free mind and never give up. I am J.R. Dukes.